And like we stay in touch and text and check in, and then you kindly, graciously invited me into your directorial debut. Your beautiful documentary. You know, why did you decide to take this journey, and particularly this subject matter, who I think you are such an authority on, but you expand it. And it's very educational about the history, the present, and the future, about the state of children who put themselves out there or are put out there.
Yeah.
So why did you want to do this?
I had this idea probably like 10 years ago, and I was just curious. I was curious as to why people put their children in the industry at a young age. Is it the children that want to be in the industry? I knew from personal experience that's how it was with me.
Me too.
But I was curious as to how it affects people, why some people go down a bad path with it. And so it was really out of curiosity.
Did you feel like you got that thing you were looking for?
Well, I definitely feel like I got so much out of this experience. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my past, which, being in my 30s, I wanted to look into, because I felt like I've come to points in my life where I'm like, do I want to continue to do this line of work? And I felt like one of the main reasons why I did this documentary was to go back and look at the beginning, because I can't figure out my future until I look at the beginning first.
And from the documentary, I know this, which I didn't know, is that you were really influenced by Shirley Temple.
I was. At such a young age, I saw Shirley Temple, this, young child was living her dream and performing, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I really looked up to her.
And you really also talk about things that I've not seen, which is the way that people become a merchandisable commodity, in the sense of like the merchandise business around them becomes its own animal.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And I was like on blankets and lunchboxes at 7 years old for E.T. And yet, like when you talk to JoJo Siwa and she's in her rooms with and you think of like the Olsen twins back in the day. Okay, you talk about teen role models.
Yes. I don't think there should be, those two words should be put together, teenage role model.
I agree. I agree. You also really investigate what is known as the Coogan Law. So Jackie Coogan, the big young male star, sort of a Shirley Temple counterpart, if you will, at that time, his parents were spending the money that he was working for. And so a law was created that we've all benefited from, which is that the money can go into a trust. It also changed like laws of how many hours kids can work. Good things came out of that legislation. So now we're living in a world where we have content creators that's going to become a $2 to $3 trillion business, they project, in the next year or two alone. What protections are there for kids in social media?
There are none. There are no protections put in place for kids on social media. And that absolutely has to change.
And I was aware that when your child also is the one making the money, that changes the parent-child dynamic.
It does.
And so how do we move forward in a world where we don't have any even discussion about the regulations or the funds or the hours, or sort of how behaviorally we all handle this new normal? We've never been here before. So ideally, what would you like to see happen?
Well, I think that's what's a great part of this documentary is it raises the awareness. And then we have to make actual change. We have to pass legislation that protects and compensates kids on social media.
I agree. Okay, when we come back, we're going to have so much more to talk about with the one and only Demi Lovato.